I made the worst mistake of my life 3 years ago. As a father, your job is to protect your children, believe in them, and be their advocate. Instead, I chose to believe my stepdaughter Amanda over my biological son Ethan, destroying his academic future and shattering our relationship. I discovered the devastating truth too late after his MIT acceptance was revoked and his other college prospects were ruined. The guilt I carry is overwhelming, knowing my failure to trust my own son altered the course of his life forever. Before I reveal how I destroyed my own son's future and our relationship, drop a comment, letting me know where you are watching from, and hit subscribe if you have ever had to face the consequences of trusting the wrong person. My story begins 15 years ago when my first marriage fell apart. My ex-wife Lisa and I divorced when our son Ethan was 10 years old. The split was bitter and painful after I discovered her affair with a colleague. Despite the acrimony between us, I fought hard for primary custody of Ethan. He was my world, a brilliant, sensitive kid who deserved stability. The court ultimately sided with me, recognizing our strong father-son bond. The first few years were just the two of us figuring things out. I adjusted my work schedule as an IT security consultant to be home when Ethan returned from school. We developed rituals and inside jokes that strengthened our connection. Every Sunday was our hiking day, regardless of weather. During these walks, Ethan would open up about school, his dreams, and occasionally his lingering sadness about the divorce. I treasured these conversations, feeling grateful that despite everything my son still trusted me with his thoughts. When Ethan turned 13, I met Caroline at a parent-teacher conference, where she was representing her daughter who attended the same middle school. Caroline was warm, intelligent, and carried herself with quiet strength. Like me, she was navigating single parenthood, though her circumstances were different. Her husband had died from cancer when their daughter Amanda was 12, leaving them to rebuild their lives. Caroline and I started dating carefully and discreetly at first. When things became serious, I introduced her to Ethan. He was initially reserved, but soon warmed to her gentle humor and the respect she showed for our father-son relationship. Caroline never tried to replace his mother or force intimacy, which Ethan appreciated. 6 months into our relationship, I met 16-year-old Amanda. She presented as sweet and soft-spoken around me, though I noticed she was quieter when Ethan was present. I attributed this to normal teenage awkwardness and the challenge of potential step-siblings. When I asked Ethan what he thought about her, he shrugged and said, "She seems okay, just different at school than she is around you." I should have probed deeper into that comment. Caroline and I married a year later, blending our families into a new home with enough space for everyone. The early days had expected bumps, establishing new household rules, navigating bathroom schedules, and merging different family traditions. Through it all, I tried to maintain special time with Ethan while also building a relationship with Amanda. Looking back, I can now identify the warning signs I willfully ignored. Amanda would insert herself into father-son activities, then appear hurt if I suggested she give us space. She would lavish praise on my cooking or work accomplishments in ways that seemed designed to gain favor. When Ethan achieved something impressive like winning the regional science competition, Amanda would find ways to redirect attention to her smaller accomplishments or create minor crises that needed immediate resolution. Ethan, always perceptive, began withdrawing. He spent more time in his room programming or at the school computer lab. His passion for computer science blossomed, and by junior year he had his sights firmly set on MIT. His teachers recognized his exceptional talent, mentioning that he had the kind of mind that could revolutionize cybersecurity someday. Meanwhile, Amanda struggled academically and socially. Her grades hovered around average, despite having tutors and significant help from Caroline. College application season amplified the contrast between the siblings. Ethan was receiving recruitment letters from prestigious universities, while Amanda was scrambling to find schools that would accept her grades. Caroline, understandably protective of her daughter, began suggesting that perhaps I was not making enough effort with Amanda. "She needs you to believe in her like you believe in Ethan," she would say. "You two already had years to bond before we came along." The implication that I was somehow failing as a stepfather cut deep, and I began overcompensating by attending every one of Amanda's events and praising her modest achievements extensively. The scales gradually tipped. I found myself giving Amanda more attention, more benefit of the doubt, and more resources. I justified this by telling myself that Ethan was naturally independent and successful, while Amanda needed more support. In reality, I was unconsciously buying peace in my marriage at the expense of equity between the children. By the time Ethan entered senior year, our family appeared functional to outsiders. We took vacations together, celebrated holidays, and participated in school functions as a unit. But beneath the surface, the foundation was cracked, weakened by subtle favoritism and unaddressed resentments. I was too invested in the narrative of our successful blended family to see the fissures clearly. Those cracks would soon rupture, destroying everything I thought we had built. The beginning of the end came during the most critical period of Ethan's academic life. He had submitted his early decision application to MIT, and all indicators pointed to likely acceptance. His SAT scores were exceptional. His computer science projects had won national recognition, and his interview with the alumni representative had gone brilliantly. For the first time in months, Ethan was openly sharing his excitement with me, reminiscent of our earlier closeness. Amanda, meanwhile, was facing rejection from her second-choice school, having already been denied by her first choice. The contrast in their prospects was stark, and I noticed her growing sullen and resentful when college discussions arose at dinner. Caroline assured me it was normal jealousy that would pass. Then came the night that changed everything. I returned from a client meeting to discover my work laptop missing from my home office. This was not just any laptop, but one containing sensitive security protocols for several major corporate clients. A breach could potentially cost me my job and expose my company to significant liability. I was searching the house in a panic when Amanda approached me, tearful and visibly anxious. "Dad," she said, calling me Dad instead of Jesse, which she only did when emotionally charged. "I saw something earlier, but I am afraid to tell you." "What is it, Amanda? I really need to find that laptop." She took a deep breath, tears streaming down her face. "I saw Ethan take it to his room. He was talking to someone on the phone about using it to help his friend hack something. I did not want to get him in trouble, but your job." My first instinct was disbelief. Ethan understood the importance of my work security better than anyone. He himself aspired to work in cybersecurity. It made no sense that he would compromise sensitive data. "Are you absolutely certain?" I pressed her. Amanda nodded, adding details that seemed to substantiate her claim. She described specific phrases she allegedly overheard, mentioned seeing Ethan carrying my laptop bag at a particular time that aligned with my discovery of it missing, and even produced a text from one of his friends that she claimed to have glimpsed that referenced borrowing some tools. When Caroline joined the conversation and heard Amanda's accusation, she immediately suggested we confront Ethan. Her quick acceptance of her daughter's story influenced my own response. Before I had properly processed everything, we were knocking on Ethan's bedroom door. The confrontation was disastrous. Ethan looked up from his desk where he had been working on coding project, completely shocked by the accusation. "What? No, I never touched your laptop. Why would I do that?" His expression shifted from confusion to hurt as he realized we were seriously accusing him. I wanted to believe him. Every instinct, as his father, told me he was telling the truth. But Amanda's tearful story, her specific details, and Caroline's certainty created doubt. When Ethan could not account for his whereabouts during the specific time Amanda claimed to have seen him with the laptop, that doubt grew. "Son, if you made a mistake, we can work through it. But I need to know where my laptop is now. There is sensitive information on it." "I do not have it, I swear." His voice cracked with emotion. "Why would you believe her over me? She is lying." Caroline stepped forward, her tone harsh. "Why would Amanda lie about something this serious? You are just upset about being caught." The argument escalated, with Ethan becoming increasingly distressed as he realized we did not believe him. He demanded we search his room, which we did, finding nothing. This only intensified the tension, with Amanda suggesting he must have hidden the laptop elsewhere. The next morning, my laptop mysteriously reappeared in Ethan's closet beneath some rarely worn clothes. When confronted again, his shock appeared genuine, but the physical evidence was damning. Even more concerning, when I examined the laptop, I found evidence of multiple unauthorized access attempts in the system history. Ethan continued to protest his innocence, becoming more desperate as the evidence mounted against him. "Someone is setting me up. I would never do this." The situation spiraled rapidly. Given the potential corporate security breach, I felt obligated to report the incident to both the police and my company. Officers arrived at our home questioning Ethan and executing a search of his electronics. Neighbors watched as police carried his computer and phone out for analysis. His humiliation was complete when officers explained the potential criminal implications of unauthorized access to corporate systems. Within days, MIT contacted Ethan. Someone had anonymously informed them of the police investigation. His early acceptance, once nearly guaranteed, was withdrawn pending resolution of the case. Other universities where he had applications soon followed suit, citing character concerns. Ethan's devastation was absolute. "You have ruined my life," he told me, voice hollow with betrayal. "I will never forgive you for this." That night, he called his mother and asked to move in with her. Lisa arrived the next morning, casting me a look of pure contempt as she helped our son pack his things. My attempts to explain the situation were met with cold silence from both of them. Over the following weeks, I enforced what I thought were appropriate consequences. I insisted Ethan attend therapy, interpreting his continued denials as dangerous dishonesty. I restricted his computer access, devastating for someone whose identity and future were built around programming. I demanded apologies to my company and clients, which he refused to provide, further confirming his guilt in my mind. One by one, his college acceptances were rescinded. His perfect academic record became irrelevant in the face of a potential criminal investigation. Though the police eventually closed the case without charges due to insufficient evidence, the damage to his academic prospects was irreversible for that year. Throughout it all, Amanda played the role of the regretful sister, publicly expressing sadness about her brother's poor choices while privately suggesting to Caroline and me that Ethan had exhibited concerning behavior for months. Her performance was flawless, and I failed to question it. By summer, Ethan had enrolled in community college, his dreams of MIT shattered. He refused my calls and returned my letters unopened. The son I had raised, the child I had fought to keep after the divorce, now wanted nothing to do with me, and I still had no idea that I had been manipulated into destroying his life. 6 months passed with no contact from Ethan beyond terse necessary communications about insurance and tuition payments. He was living permanently with Lisa, now working part-time at a local computer repair shop, while attending community college. According to mutual connections, he rarely mentioned my name. At home, a new normal established itself. Amanda had started at a decent state university, seemingly having moved past the unfortunate incident with her stepbrother. Caroline and I never discussed the lingering tension his absence created in our marriage. We simply carried on the empty bedroom at the end of the hall, a silent monument to what we had lost. As time passed, certain inconsistencies in the events began to nag at me. Why would Ethan, who understood computer security better than most adults, leave such obvious digital traces if he were actually attempting unauthorized access? Why would the laptop mysteriously reappear in his room after he knew we were looking for it? The narrative I had accepted began to show cracks. The truth revealed itself by pure chance. Amanda had returned to school after winter break, leaving behind some clutter in her room. While helping Caroline clean up, I found an old flash drive that had fallen behind her desk. Thinking it might contain school projects she would need, I plugged it into my personal computer to check its contents. What I found shattered my world for the second time. The drive contained a folder labeled simply E that held detailed notes on keylogger software instructions for creating false digital footprints, and most damning of all, a series of screenshots of conversations with friends where Amanda explicitly discussed her plan to eliminate the competition for parental attention and college funding. "Once Golden Boy is out of the picture, all their money and time will be for me," she had written. "His precious MIT dream is the perfect target." There were screenshots of my work calendar showing, when I would be at critical client meetings, notes on my laptop password, that she had apparently observed me typing, and a step-by-step plan to frame Ethan for computer misuse. I sat frozen at my desk for hours. The evidence of my catastrophic mistake illuminated on the screen before me. Every defense I had made of Amanda, every accusation against my son, every punishment I had enforced, came rushing back with sickening clarity. I had not just failed to protect Ethan. I had actively participated in destroying his future. When Caroline returned home, I silently showed her the contents of the drive. Her denial transformed into horror as the evidence mounted, culminating in Amanda's own words, bragging to a friend about how perfectly her plan had worked. "This cannot be real," Caroline whispered, but we both knew it was. That evening we video called Amanda at college. I watched her expression shift from casual greeting to defensive anger as I held up the flash drive. "What did you do to my private files?" she demanded, attempting to redirect the confrontation. "Did you frame Ethan for stealing my laptop?" I asked, my voice unnaturally, calm despite the storm inside me. "Of course not. Why would you even ask that?" But her eyes darted away from the camera. I began reading her own words back to her. With each damning line, her facade cracked further, until finally, shockingly, she laughed. "You were not supposed to find that," she said, all pretense of innocence gone. "But yes, I did it. And it worked perfectly." "Why?" Caroline asked, her voice breaking. "How could you do this to Ethan? To our family?" Amanda's expression hardened. "You were supposed to be my dad too," she said, looking at me. "But it was always about Ethan. His grades, his future, his special time with Dad. What about me? What about my future? So you deliberately ruined his life. Do you understand what you have done? MIT was his dream. Everyone has disappointments," she replied coldly. "Now he knows what it feels like to be second best." The conversation deteriorated from there, with Amanda alternating between defiance and threatening self-harm if we ruined her life. Two, by exposing what she had done. She refused to publicly admit her actions or make any statement that might help clear Ethan's name. The following weeks were a blur of painful activity. I contacted MIT and the other universities providing evidence of Ethan's innocence. While they expressed sympathy, most institutions were unwilling to reverse their decisions for the current academic year. The most they could offer was reconsideration for the following fall. I reached out to Ethan, repeatedly leaving voice messages, explaining what I had discovered, begging for a chance to make amends. All went unanswered. I sent the evidence to Lisa, hoping she might help him understand I now knew the truth. Eventually, I wrote a detailed account, taking full responsibility for my failure as a father, explaining how I had allowed myself to be manipulated, but making it clear that the ultimate fault was mine for not believing my son. I sent this to Ethan with no expectation of forgiveness, only wanting him to know that I recognized the magnitude of my failure. 3 weeks later, I received an email from an address I did not recognize. The subject line read simply, "From Ethan." Response from Ethan: "I never thought I would be writing to you again. For almost a year I have been trying to rebuild my life from the ruins of what happened. Community college is fine, but it is not MIT. My job fixing laptops is fine, but it is not the internship at Google I had lined up. My apartment with 2 random roommates is fine, but it is not home. Everything in my life is just fine now, not exceptional like it was supposed to be. When the police showed up that day, I thought there had been some bizarre mistake that would quickly be cleared up. Then I saw your face, Dad. You already believed I was guilty. Do you have any idea what that feels like? To have your father, the person who is supposed to believe in you, no matter what, look at you like you are a criminal. To choose his new wife's daughter over his own son. I kept waiting for you to come to your senses, to realize that Amanda was lying. Instead, you doubled down. You forced me into therapy, as if I was the one with the problem. You restricted my computer access in the middle of the most important coding project of my life. You demanded I apologize for something I never did. Every rejection letter felt like another nail in the coffin of my future. Schools that had been begging me to attend suddenly would not even consider my application. My perfect GPA, my national awards, my recommendation letters, all became worthless because of a lie you chose to believe. Mom took me in, but she has her own problems. Her apartment is too small, and her boyfriend does not want me there long term. She tries, but she also reminds me daily that none of this would have happened if I had chosen to live with her after the divorce. The evidence you sent shocked me, but it did not surprise me. Amanda always resented me. I tried to tell you that many times, but you dismissed it as normal sibling rivalry. She was never subtle around me about wanting me gone. The only surprise was how thoroughly she executed her plan, and how easily you fell for it. I want to hate you. Sometimes I still do. But mostly, I just feel tired. Tired of carrying this anger. Tired of mourning the future that was taken from me. I do not know if I can forgive you yet. Part of me wants to, if only to free myself from this weight. But trust is not something I can just decide to give you again. It would have to be rebuilt slowly, if at all. If you truly want to make amends, I need complete honesty from now on. I need time and space to process everything. And I need to know that you have learned something from this, that you would never make this same mistake again. I am not coming home. That house stopped being my home the moment you chose her over me. But maybe eventually we can find a way to be family again, even if it looks different than before. Ethan. After reading his message, I sat in my car and wept for the first time since this nightmare began. His words were measured, thoughtful, and showed more maturity than I had demonstrated throughout this entire ordeal. He had left the door open just a crack, and I was determined to do whatever it took to eventually earn back his trust. The months since that email have been a painful process of rebuilding. Caroline and I are in marriage counseling, working through the devastation of Amanda's betrayal and my catastrophic failure as a father. We made the difficult decision to withdraw financial support for Amanda's education, pending her acknowledgement of her actions and sincere efforts to make amends. She has thus far refused, choosing instead to take out loans and distance herself from us. Ethan and I have begun tentative communication. We started with emails, progressed to occasional texts, and recently had our first in-person meeting at a neutral coffee shop. The conversation was awkward and tense, but it happened. He allowed me to help him apply for universities again, this time with my full support and additional documentation about what had transpired. Last week he received an acceptance letter from Carnegie Mellon's prestigious computer science program along with a substantial scholarship. When he texted me the news, I felt a small crack in the wall between us. He has agreed to let me help move him to campus in the fall. Family therapy has been challenging, but essential. Our therapist specializes in parental alienation and betrayal trauma, helping us navigate this complex situation without easy answers. Ethan participates in joint sessions once a month, which I count as enormous progress. Lisa and I have established a fragile truce, united in our desire to support our son's recovery. She has even acknowledged that my efforts to make amends seem genuine, which feels like a minor miracle given her justified anger. As for me, I have been fundamentally changed by this experience. I now understand that blended families require vigilant fairness, not artificial equality that ignores the unique needs of each child. I recognize how easily I prioritized my new marriage over my responsibilities to my son. I see how desperately I wanted the perfect family narrative, even at the cost of truth. The road ahead remains long and uncertain. Ethan may never fully trust me again, and I would not blame him. But I am committed to being worthy of whatever relationship he is willing to offer on his terms and his timeline. If there is anything to be salvaged from this tragedy, it is this lesson. Never allow new relationships to overshadow established ones, especially with your children. Listen with your heart, not just your ears. And remember that trust once broken may take a lifetime to repair, but the effort is always worth making. Have you ever had to rebuild trust with someone you deeply hurt? Share your experience in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit subscribe and like this video so others might learn from my devastating mistake. Consider sharing it with someone who needs to hear that while we cannot undo our worst decisions, we can commit to making amends, no matter how long it takes. Thank you for listening to my story, and remember that Sometimes the hardest person to forgive is yourself. But healing begins with that first step.